Hello programmers! Today I want to talk about random numbers in C, and to generate a random number you can call this function rand, and that function you can get if you include this header standard lib.h. And you can look at the documentation online to see what is that going to generate, but I just made a little program that would call this function once, print whatever random number is generated that I saved in R, call the function again to generate a second random number, and then print that out, and I run this and I see some really large random numbers that are generated. And I run it again and I notice, seems like the same two random numbers are generated. I run it again and the same two random numbers are generated again, so it doesn't seem all that random. But first let's answer another question of what is the range here that we're seeing with these random numbers? Well, I'm going to add a third print statement here to talk about the range that we can expect when we're printing out a random number with rand. So let me paste this line. There is a constant rand max that you'll find if you look inside this header, and this rand max, if I run this, we're going to see a pretty big number right here. So that's the largest possible number we can have, and a lot of applications that you're going to use want a different number. They don't want to generate something between 0 and this large number. So let's say you are dealing with a deck of cards and you want to generate something between 1 and 52 to pick which card you're getting, or you're simulating rolling a dice. That'd be a number between 1 and 6. So how can we take this awkward range here that we're working with and turn it into something more useful for our program? Well, a common way to do that in programming classes is to use our modulus operator. So I'm going to generate the random number, but then I'm going to divide it by 100 and keep the remainder. And let's see what happens when I do this both times. And I run this, and we see we are getting numbers between 0 and 99 because we're dividing by 100 and we're keeping the remainder. And I'm done with looking at rand max, so I'm going to get rid of that. What if we switch this to a modulus with a 10? We're going to get numbers between 0 and 9. We run it twice, we get 3 and 9. Let's say I want, instead of 0 to 9, I want something between 1 and 10. I could just add 1 to my number here and run that again. But we also noticed that problem I mentioned before, that we aren't getting really what seems like random numbers. There is a formula here, and what we need to do to get something that seems more random is to do something called seeding the random number generator. And I'm going to include one more header to get this to work, and it is a header time.h. Now, I don't actually care to keep track of what time it is, but the time is always changing, so if I use that to seed my random number generator, then I will get what seems like a more random number. So I'm going to call this function srand, which will seed our random number generator, and you pass in a time structure. I don't need to keep the result, so I'm just going to pass in null. And putting this once in your program before you generate your random numbers, and I've got it after I'm generating my random number, so let me move it up, will give you some better results, some things that look more random. So let's try running this program again, and here I was generating numbers between 1 and 10, and my results are 5 and 5. Well, that seems like either very lucky or very unlucky. I run it again and I get 7 and 2. I run it again and I get 8 and 8. Run it again and 3 and 2. So I am now getting different results every time I run it, which is what you would want when you're trying to generate random numbers.